Welcome to the DDoS Protection webinar put on by Atlantech Online. My name is Tom Collins. I am the Director of Enterprise Sales and Marketing with Atlantech Online. My guest today is Mike Powell, Senior Security Services Engineer of Corero. Mike, you want to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Tom, and hi to everyone listening. Like Tom said, I'm Mike Powell from Corero Network Security, senior security engineer there, and I've been with the company for about 7 years. So glad to be here.
On our agenda today is we're going to talk a little bit about Atlantech Online. Then Mike's going to go into some trends that are happening in DDoS, also some insights into current practices that small and medium-sized businesses have. And then we're going to elaborate more on Atlantech DDoS Protect and how the service works. So first about Atlantech Online. Atlantech Online is a telephone and internet service provider. We're based in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we've been in business since 1995. We primarily provide internet connectivity, phone services. We own and operate two data centers, one in Rockville, Maryland, the other in Silver Spring, Maryland. And we offer enhanced services such as structured cabling, cloud fax services, and also DDoS protection for our internet connectivity and phone services. What we're going to be talking about today is DDoS. And the first question someone might have is, what is DDoS? DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service. A DDoS attack is a cyber threat in which multiple computer systems attack a target, such as a server or a website or even the network itself, and cause a degraded service or complete outage for users of the targeted resources. The unwanted flood of incoming network traffic, connection requests, or malformed packets to the target cause it to slow or shut down completely, thereby denying service to legitimate users or systems. Now, obviously, with internet connectivity for the office or for the government agency, this would be a big problem. It's even a bigger problem if you're using VoIP, if you're using voice over IP, hosted PBX services, if voice is an application on your network. So DDoS attacks are a threat to service availability, network security, and business continuity, impacting brand reputation and ultimately leading to lost revenues. A lot of the attacks that we see nowadays are often short, and so they're hard to identify initially. DDoS trends, I'm going to ask Mike to elaborate on some trends that we're seeing with DDoS as it affects business and government nowadays. Mike, why don't you pick it up from here?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So one of the things that we really notice across our customer base is kind of like you mentioned, around 80 or so percent of attacks are less than 10 minutes. What we've kind of figured out on that is most likely that attackers are trying to be annoying, kind of like you alluded to. It's difficult to find this problem when it comes and goes and it's just constantly turn on, turn off, that type of thing. And oftentimes they don't have to use a huge attack to cause harm in the network. That's why we see about 97% of attacks are less than 10 gigabit, because usually an attacker, if somebody doesn't have DDoS protection, they can accomplish their goal with just a 5 gig attack. So that's kind of the overall landscape of what we see, and it just kind of points to the importance of having a DDoS protection mechanism that's always in line and always on, so that as soon as something happens, you're going to get mitigation. That's an important thing to consider when you're looking at DDoS. Also, the other thing that we notice is very interesting. If someone gets attacked, they have about a 30% chance of being attacked again within that week. Typically, if an attacker has a successful attack, they will notice that and they will plan to do it again. So, see, sometimes an attacker is just really trying to cause problems for a business. Sometimes they want to take a service down, right? but sometimes they also just want to tie up resources, both computer resources and human resources, investigating this problem, trying to figure out what's going on, and that's costing time and money for the business. So that's kind of some of what we see. We do see new attack vectors coming. Usually we see a few attack vectors a year. One of the most recent attack vectors that we've seen is something that the industry has kind of dubbed a carpet bombing attack. This is where there are many victims in a network, so it's not maybe just one web server. What they're trying to do is completely exhaust the bandwidth on that network. So they're trying to keep each destination at a low packet rate while still causing a lot of harm. And so it's really kind of attack evasion that they're doing with that.
What are businesses doing now to protect against DDoS, and are these things effective or ineffective?
So one of the most common things we hear or people will go to first is, oh, well, we have a firewall. It's doing, application recognition, and it's just making sure that nothing is getting through that shouldn't. And a firewall is good. You should have a firewall. But the issue is a firewall is not designed on its own to block DDoS attacks. It's not designed to receive hundreds of millions of packets per second and be able to filter that kind of thing. A good example I like that you came up with, Tom, is the goalie, like in a hockey situation. Imagine a DDoS attack is a scenario where you have five attackers coming in and they each have a hockey puck and are shooting. A goalie, he can be pretty good in a normal game situation, but if you just have 5 to 10 players shooting at him, he's not going to be able to keep up with that. That's not the design of the goalie, right?
Right.
He, the
Especially if he doesn't have defensemen or wingers in
exactly,
front of him. He's just
exactly.
there by himself.
Yeah, he needs defensemen to help out. There's a system. There's layers of defense. It's overall strategy. It's not only on one player, to defend the goal. So that's something that we see with firewall. Firewalls are not typically designed for DDoS. They're designed to prevent people intruding into the network. That's typically the goal of the firewall. And so what we do is we provide protection for the firewall. We allow the firewall to not get inundated with just a large amount of traffic. We take out all of the extra so that the firewall can focus on bad traffic and good traffic trying to get into the network. The other thing is we hear some customers that will say, oh, we have a lot of bandwidth. We don't have to worry about a DDoS attack. We're fine. And so the thing you have to consider, yes, maybe if you got a 50 gigabit DDoS attack, you could, in fact, take that in. But what you have to consider is you don't have 300 gigabit of bandwidth through your whole network to the end device, right? That's internet coming into your network. At certain points in your network, typically, there will be places where there's a 10 gigabit connection or even a 1 gigabit connection, right? So even if your internet can handle that 50 gig coming in, that doesn't mean that your entire network could handle 50 gigs of traffic. That's something to keep in mind as well, is that it's not just about protecting your edge. You need to protect your 1 gigabit links and your 10 gigabit links down on into your network.
What about DDoS protection services that require manual intervention?
So certainly manual intervention is better than nothing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have your services remain intact during a DDoS attack. Okay, so if you have a manual intervention, oftentimes that will take at least 10 to 15 minutes for the attack to be detected, for the attack vector, a rule to be created for that vector, and then to have, phone calls or emails, and then have somebody go in and implement that protection. It often takes a while. And the issue with a manual protection is sometimes a firewall or a server or any other type of service can get knocked down or locked up. Okay. So that even if the DDoS attack stops, that doesn't mean that the service automatically comes back on and is in service. Okay. So sometimes after DDoS attack, you have to reboot the server or you have to reboot the firewall, as an example. And sometimes that requires somebody physically in a data center, you know?
Yes, so it's not timely. The attack can be happening and it might even be over by the time you put these something in effect to stop it. And then
Exactly.
you have to undo that to get things back to normal, and then the attack
Hmm.
might happen again. I
Exactly.
suspect another thing, especially if you're relying on your carrier to do this manual intervention for you. Now you have to engage their tech support. You
Hmm.
open a ticket, they might be working on some other stuff,
Hmm.
and they don't get to your ticket right away. And then
Yep.
by the time they do, or by the time they make a change, like we talked about earlier, the attack could already be over, the damage could already be done. Obviously, high profile companies are a target. Would these DDoS people, would they concern themselves with smaller businesses?
Actually, yes. Sometimes small businesses are actually easy targets for some of these guys. Like, indeed, they could go for a large business that has more money, but that business is also more likely to be protected and have a security staff and, be practicing and be ready for these types of incidents. Sometimes you might get smaller law offices or even sometimes hospitals or school systems, right? They have enough money that somebody might go after them with, say, a ransomware, right? This we've seen this where they'll send an email to a company and say, "Hey, we need you to pay us, X amount of dollars or X amount of Bitcoin, or else we're going to send a DDoS attack to you and we're going to take you offline." And so that's something that even small businesses can face. Is just because I think some attackers might see them as an easy target. It's a smaller target, but it's also easier. So it's something that even small businesses need to be aware of and need to be protected for.
We saw this recently in the Wall Street Journal earlier in June of 2022, that a
Hmm.
front page article about small businesses struggling with an increase in cyber attacks, and the primary focus of these cyber attacks in many instances were actually DDoS attacks, where the network was trying to be shut down or they were trying to shut off their VoIP services. And in actuality, like this article on the right references, that what they were really trying to do is what's known as ransomware. They were using a DDoS attack or the threat of an attack in order to extract a ransom to not continue with the attack or to make the attack. So it's really a prevalent and potent blend that can affect especially small and medium-sized businesses in a negative way, especially when it comes to lost reputation.
Yeah, definitely. So in business, reputation for being secure and for being having a stable service is very important. A history of staying online and staying available is very important. So a news article or something gets out that a business has taken a DDoS attack and is not able to stay up, that will oftentimes impact their business.
So this kind of brings us to the service that Atlantech Online offers. We call it Atlantech DDoS Protect. The service is intended to mitigate volumetric attacks. That's where the attacker is trying to overwhelm the network. Also, application layer attacks where they're trying to shut down a particular application. As you can see in the graphic, the red and the green at the top, the red traffic is the bad traffic. This is the DDoS attack traffic. What Atlantech DDoS Protect will do is stop that traffic at the edge outside of the customer's network or the resource that the customer is trying to protect, but it will allow the good traffic to come in. So non-attack traffic is delivered to the customer, and the bad traffic is stopped at the edge. So the benefits of the Atlantech DDoS Protect service is that it is instant and it has an accurate mitigation signature. Every packet is inspected and the bad traffic is stopped automatically. It's also unparalleled as far as scalability is concerned. As Mike was referencing earlier, some only have 100 megabits, some have a gig connection, but we have a client that has a 50 gigabit connection. And Atlantech DDoS Protect can protect both 100 megabit or 50 gigabit. Atlantech DDoS Protect is deployed at our internet peering points along our edge network, and it uses mission-built hardware by Corero that mitigates DDoS attack traffic at wire speed. So at the 100 megabit connection, at the gig connection, the traffic is mitigated at that wire speed. And it's always on, even if it's Saturday night in the middle of the night or it's Christmas Eve. The DDoS protection service is always on and will block threats in real time without intervention. So you don't have to open a ticket. You don't have to call tech support. You don't have to wait in queue to have your needs met, explain the problem to a person who then has to manually intervene to protect against the problem. And in the meantime, your clean traffic is forwarded to your equipment, whether it's application, the network itself, whatever, allowing normal operations during an attack. So it's a simplified protection. There's also historical reporting that's included. The Atlantech online support, our technical and customer service support people are there to deliver, answers to any questions you have, but also to make sure that this is operating as it should be. And it's a very easy deployment for the customer. In fact, you don't need to have security staff. You don't even need to have any networking staff. So this is a very good choice for small, medium-sized business that doesn't have those kind of resources available to them. And what the service looks like here is on the left is the portal login. So you'll use a web browser to access the DDoS Protect portal. You have a secure login, username and password, and then you'll get to the portal part itself, which has the services overview, which can show you what's going on the network at that time. Green traffic good, red traffic is bad. It's the traffic that's actually been blocked at the edge of your network. Here we can see that there's been like a 7 megabit attack that was blocked for a customer. And in addition to that, we will do alerting for our customers to notify you that, hey, your DDoS Protect service is working. There was an attack at such and such time on that such and such date. It was on this resource. Here's where it was coming from. Here's, what the maximum bit rate of the attack was to notify you that it's happening. And Mike, maybe you could talk a little bit more about the portal and some of the historical reporting that's available to customers, information that they might be interested in accessing.
Yeah, so definitely in the portal, something that you're going to get, like Tom was saying, is anytime you get an attack, you'll get an alert, right? So you'll know about it when it's happening, but you'll also have historical data to go back and look and see, oh, it looks like last Thursday at 8 p.m., we were receiving a DDoS attack. Corero was mitigating that, just so you can kind of see what was going on. That's something very helpful for customers and for network admins.
Agreed. So the Atlantech DDoS Protect service, another benefit of it is an affordable service. Corero has put out a white paper. It's called The Need for Always On in DDoS Protection. And as a reminder, the Atlantech DDoS Protect service is a service that's always on and it's automated. like Mike was referring with your historical data, you might see where there was attacks happening, but the idea is that we're mitigating the attack, so it's not impacting your network, but you can see, what kind of activity there's been in the past. But what the white paper says is that the estimated cost of a DDoS attack is on average $218,000, which is very expensive. And that's adding up the engineer time to, deal with an attack, downtime of any system resources, employee downtime, where you have people who are just sitting there because they can't do their job using the network or using the telephone if you have a VoIP service, etc. Then there's the communication if you're undergoing an attack. Like Mike said earlier, a small, medium-sized business that's undergoing attack, they'll have to communicate, let their customers know, hey, we're under attack, we're trying to fix it. This is, for companies that aren't protected, part of the cost is the attack communication about the attack. And then there's the ransom itself. The business may elect to go ahead and pay the ransom to have the attacker move on to someone else, to attack. And here's the other part of the economics of it is it's very inexpensive for attackers to initiate an attack. There's actually cloud services of DDoS attack software. An attacker who has a target in mind can rent access to that cloud service for as little as $100 so they can initiate their attack and then, start up their little email chain on asking for the ransom and having the payment sent there. So it's a low cost item to start such an attack, but it's a very high cost for a business if they do get attacked. But you can see that pales in comparison to what the monthly cost is for Atlantech DDoS Protect service that would protect you against such attacks. For 100 megabit, the monthly cost is $350. If you have a 10 gigabit connection or more, you have $2,500 a month or more. And what I suggest that you do is give us a call today because we're running specials on service as we think this is a service that's of value to our customers and those who do want to do business with Atlantech Online. So make sure you ask about any current specials available where you might be able to get even better pricing. So what we'd like you to do is contact Atlantech Online directly. You can go to our website, go to our DDoS Protect page. Near the bottom of the page, there's a form you can fill out where you can secure your network from DDoS attacks with Atlantech Online using our Atlantech DDoS Protect service. We hope that you do reach out and contact us. We do want to be of service to you. We thank you for paying attention here today and watching our webinar. And Mike, I want to thank you for joining us. Any final words?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Tom. And thank you to everyone for giving us your time to listen and just to learn a little bit. And we'd love to have you as an Atlantech DDoS customer.
Thanks all for attending, and we'll see you soon.